On being a visitor to Chennai Toastmasters. It has always been a privilege coming here, friends. It was somewhere 10 months ago that I visited the club, and I'll tell you, it has always been an inspiration to me. Like whenever I come here, I take something home to my home club. The last time that I came here, I took a lot of things on the professionalism front, and I also stole an agenda from this place, and from then onwards our agenda has been in a way a replica of what you were practicing, and then now I understand why you did not have an agenda today. Okay, but still taking lessons home for sure. And if I had been to any other Toastmasters club, I would have happily accepted the board that you had in front of this hall. It read DTM Shamraj. Okay, but when I have veteran Toastmasters, distinguished Toastmasters like Nina Joan, I should say, I'm not a distinguished Toastmaster. I'm going to get that title in a few years. I'm just Toastmaster Shamraj. This session now would be on how to prepare for a humorous speech. Like if you're going to have a title for this, my dear friends, it would be how to prepare for a humorous speech 329 degrees. Just 1 degree is always left blank. It simply states that you do not have a definition as such for how to prepare a humorous speech. It is all that little sharing of experiences from the great speakers who have been so successful with humorous speeches. Now as we start, let me make it through a few questions. Like how many of you have felt this question the moment you started preparing for your humorous speech? Will the audience laugh for my jokes? Okay. I should have asked, is there anyone who did not have this question? Okay. How many of you have participated in humorous speech contests? And how many of you are planning to? Okay, great. Put your hands down. A quick question, friends. Think of any movie which is filled with humor. It's all comedy all through the movie, right? Think of such a movie, and you are there when the theater is full. How do you imagine this theater? For every scene and for every frame, you can imagine the theater with a lot of noise, laughter, people rolling around on the chair, jumping, whistling. Are you able to imagine that? Now just scene 2. Think of the same movie which is played in the TV. You are the only one in the hall. You are sitting there and you are watching this movie. How would you react? The third thing, assume that you play this movie in the computer and you have the headphones. You are the only person watching this movie. How would you react? Maybe for the scene that you are jumping on the chair in the theater, you would be in front of the TV and saying, good one. This is the reaction, right? That happens every time that we sit for a preparation for a humorous speech, friends. Like we think of a theme, we think of a joke, and you are the only audience for your joke. And that's where you feel the audience may not laugh for this. The audience may not react for this. Please understand point number 1, the level of understanding of an individual is highly different from the level of understanding of a crowd. Something that you thought did not work on an individual will definitely work with a crowd. So if you feel people, if you have this doubt of whether people would respond to your jokes, yes, they would definitely. All that you have to do is continue doing what you do. And is there this question running in your mind? See, I've been a successful, serious speaker. I've always conveyed serious messages. I've been motivational. Will humor suit me? Does anyone have this question? Okay. In that case, friends, the answer to that question would be Abraham Lincoln. Okay, we all know he was the President of the United States of America, but it's very important for us to know that his oratory power actually made him adorn that throne. And it is not that he motivated people, it's not that he inspired people, he also was so jovial and humorous. Let me just give you one incident from his life and you will know how a serious speaker can be humorous as well. He was into this dining room where party men from various parties assembled. He was there having his food. There was a man sitting adjacent to Abraham Lincoln. This guy did not like Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln did not like this guy. Now as they were dining, Abraham had to get off his seat, go somewhere and come back. He took off, moved, and when he was off, this guy who was sitting beside him tried to do something mischievous. Abraham had left his kerchief on the table. So he took out his pen, drew the face of a donkey, kept it inside and continued what he was doing. Now Abraham comes back, sees his kerchief, he sees the face of a donkey, and he very well knew that it was this guy who has done this. So he slowly asks this fellow, see, when I was off my seat, did you wipe your face with my kerchief? Just imagine the sense of humor with a serious speaker. So if you have ever thought like, I'm a serious speaker, I convey serious messages, will humor work with me? Does this face look like giving a humorous speech? Yes, it does. That is the answer. Right? Now having given all these things, let's slowly move into this guidelines. My dear friends, these are a few things that have been brought from the books of people who state that they were successful in humorous. Point number one is always quoted to be the element of unpredictability. Like they say, when something is presented in an unpredictable style, humor works there. Humor opens up there. Like you had this joke master today who said, like he was translating between both, and finally the last sentence was in a way unpredictable to us, and that's where you feel this humor working. Last year when I was the district winner for humorous speech, my topic was around mathematics. My topic was Sergeant at Arms is my maths teacher in the hall. This was my topic. Like I was talking about my difficulties in understanding problems, my difficulties with mathematics. Maybe I had this passage in my speech. It goes this way. When I was in my first standard, my maths teacher asked me to recite numbers in order. My uncle had once taught that to me, so I started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great, continue, she said. I smiled and continued. Jack, Queen, King, Ace. Now the point is, when it goes in an unpredictable style, like when people do not expect what is going to happen, and you give this, that really works. So when you think of what strategy you are planning to adapt, maybe have this unpredictability on top when it comes to humorous speeches. The next immediate thing would be your exaggeration and action that have a major role. I found this working so well in my ISC that I presented just a few months ago. It was just 2 months ago. Like my plan was to have the first 2.5 minutes of my speech in a humorous style and the remaining part of the speech to convey the message. In fact, in ISC, the rules are different. In humorous speech, the rules are entirely different. So I just thought I will use humor only in the first 2 to 2.5 minutes of my speech. Now this is where there is another logic coming into picture. When it comes to presenting something in a humorous style, and if you are trying to have an incident, see that the incident is short. You don't have a long incident wherein you set the base, you set the context, and finally you crack the joke. No, you're actually consuming more time in the 5 to 7 minutes of time that you have. In my case with ISC, I planned to have it for only 2.5 minutes. I very well knew that I did not have time to set context, and I jumped into that immediately. Let me just tell you how it worked. This is the first 2 minutes of my ISC. I went on to the stage, and this is something that I managed to do. Good morning. Oh. Good evening, everyone. This is exactly how I failed and fumbled in my first stage at the age of 8. When I failed, my coach, who was standing behind the screen, immediately said, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen." I saw him and said, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen." When you are on the stage for the first time, your brain works exactly like a 5-year-old kid. Let me explain this to you. During last Diwali, I was using a candle to light a color matchstick and I was playing with it. Looking at me, my 5-year-old neighbor used the same candle to light an atom bomb and was playing with it. I saw him and shouted immediately, "Throw it away!" He threw the candle away. Your brain works exactly the same when you are on your first stage. During my first stage, I was expected to act as Brutus, kill Caesar, and present a talk to the Romans. I took out my dagger, killed the minister instead of Caesar, and I was talking about Caesar to Caesar. And the boy who was acting as Caesar did not know what to do. Knowing that he should be dead for that scene, he took out his dagger, killed himself, and lay on the floor. So the point around this is, like, in this case, it was like 3 incidents, friends. It was like 3 incidents, and I very well knew that I did not have time to explain any of them. Jump right into it and see that the incidents are short. And one more point, none of these things happened in my life. Nothing happened in my life. It was all exaggeration. So that comes to be the 4th point when it comes to humorous speeches. In ISC, there is a strict condition that you do not go on to exaggeration, but in humorous speeches, play with it. Play with exaggeration. That's when you feel people accepting it. And another important point that you have to understand, like when I exaggerate, do I lose my credibility? Will people start doubting my content? Don't worry about it. See, I told you, my maths teacher asked me to recite numbers in order. I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I said Jack, Queen, King, Ace. Do you have 1 in cards? No. Did you ask me about that? People don't look for logics. Okay, I said the little boy threw the candle away. Did you ask me what happened to that little boy with the atom bomb? No, people are ready to go crazy with you, right? So mad jokes are definitely accepted. So do not think of logics, exaggerate it as much as you can. And then comes this role of wordplay and pun, altering the famous. See, when I say altering the famous, there have been a lot of successful humorous speakers who have always been touching those lines which are commonly known to everyone. So have you seen people always interpreting Newton's third law? Okay, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. They go and make jokes on that. London Bridge is falling down, they go and make jokes on that. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Okay, I wanted to be the superstar in that hall of first standard students. I became the twinkle, twinkle, little star. They make it. So in that way, if you're going to touch those lines which are commonly known to everyone, that again brings you humor. And the most important of all is how you can connect with the people. Like, I did not know that was acting as an advantage to me when I presented my humorous speech at the district level. Later did I know that people were able to receive my speech only because they were able to connect. Like, you get into any hall and ask people how many of you hate mathematics, you will find 50% of the audience raising their hand, and the remaining 50% will know why people hate it. So thereby it's always connectable. So the point is people should be able to connect it, and the next important thing is people should be able to understand. That comes as a major thing. See, we always get into this doubt, like the worst thing that can happen on a humorous speech for a speaker is not that people don't react to your jokes. That's not the real problem. It's when people really don't understand your joke. Like this happened to me in 2015 when I was for my ISC district contest. I mean, sir said that he was in Colombo at that time. That was the first time that I was facing a foreign audience. It was in Colombo that it was conducted. Earlier, people say you are very fast as a speaker, Shyam. I have always got this complaint. And they say even we do not understand you at times. I mean, I'm talking about Indians. Think of the other countrymen, how would they get my accent or how would they get my speed? Like, I did not know this. Even then, my first 2 minutes of speech was planned to be humorous. The remaining 4 minutes was planned to be a serious one. I went on to the stage at Colombo. It was a 600-member crowd, 575 Sri Lankans, 25 including me were the Indians. Like, we stayed there. When I was presenting the speech, I was as fast as I was usually. The first 2 minutes of humor, the audience were sitting like this. They were sitting exactly like this. I was trying humor after humor, joke after joke. They were looking at me as if I was conveying a very serious message to them. And in the second part of the speech, I was able to get some response for 3 or 4 times. That was the serious part of the speech. Like, this happens every time. And the next time when I went to this speech on mathematics, I was very sure. Okay, let me first talk to them and let me first check if they understand me. And I got this Sri Lankan on the day before the contest. It was this fun night, and I got this person. I asked him, see, I want you to tell me if you understand my concept, if you understand my jokes. I said, see, I am going to talk about mass. Sir, I don't understand that, he said. Like, the very topic wasn't understood by him. He said, I don't understand that. And later did I understand? When you say mass, a Sri Lankan doesn't understand it. You say mats, he understands it. The way the pronunciation differs, it becomes equally important. And I say A plus B the whole square. No, it's A plus B the whole thing square there. And if you don't say it that way, they do not understand. And there was a passage in my speech wherein I said, I was talking about the maths teacher beating us with a scale. It happens very normally, right? I said, see, I have a scene like this. My maths teacher beats me with a scale. The fellow said, oh my God, your maths teacher beats me with a scale. He said, it's an instrument of education. How can you punish you with a scale? Like, my shock was not that he did not understand. My shock was his maths teacher doesn't beat him with a scale. I asked him, how does that? And later the fellow said, no. Here we use steel rods for that. So the point is, it's very important that you understand how people take your point. And then play with the words. Particularly, you get into things a little technical, you fall into this trap. In my case, when I wanted to play with this word, when I wanted to play with the sentence, there was one area where I would have fairly fumbled if I had not talked with that guy before. My point was like this. I was trying to explain what happens in the examination hall. That was my point. Again, a case wherein I was a little successful because the incident was made short. I made it this way. I'm in the examination hall. It goes this way. The worst thing in a maths examination hall is not forgetting your calculator and logbook. The worst thing is having the calculator and logbook and not knowing where to use them. I mean, your answers for the entire question paper will be over with 5 pages remaining in the main sheet, and everyone gets 10 additional sheets and you do not know why. Like, at times we feel like talking to the question paper. The question paper says, prove that a plus b the whole square is equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab. I never said a plus b the whole square is equal to a square plus b square plus 2ab. Why should I prove that? If you feel like saying these things, if I had said this and the fellow did not understand a plus b the whole square, gone. And it's important that they understand it a plus b the whole thing square. So understandability matters the most. And when we enter into highly complicated and technical jokes, let me tell you, even if 10% of the audience is not going to get us, even if 20% of the audience is not ready to understand our jokes, that will totally dilute the effect. And now finally, to talk about the arrangement of our humor, the arrangement of jokes, how would you usually plan, friends? Do you always go with planning the best of your jokes at the end of your speech? Which do you think is the successful strategy? Like, I would like to have a very powerful conclusion. Is that the red at me? No. Okay, thank you. So, you have the most powerful jokes at the end so that people end up laughing? Is it that way you plan, or you space them equally? Where do you have the best jokes of yours? Okay. Advantages with everything, friends. But let me give you a quick suggestion. It's always advisable to stack them all to the front. The first 90 seconds of your speech matter the most. The response of the audience in the first 90 seconds is what you will read till the end of your speech. Now just assume you have the best of your jokes in the first 90 seconds and you got what you wanted. You got a response from the audience. Assume that there were some average jokes placed after that. The response will still be there as well. You'll get the same response that you got in the first 90 seconds. That's the power of audience. They can come with you if you treat them good in the first 90 seconds. Now assume the reverse case. Like you thought you will reserve the best for the end, and you went with some average jokes in the beginning. See, I don't say there is nothing called an average joke or a good joke. It's all upon how you deliver that. But assume that you did not have much of confidence with these jokes. You thought, I'll push them to the front and I'll go with the best of mine at the end. You may not get a good response in the beginning, and you feel like getting it at the end. No, that doesn't happen. The same effect comes through, the quality of the good jokes gets diluted. This is what happens. So please be very careful in aligning your jokes, is what I wanted to say. And along with it comes the frequency in which you have the audience reacting to you. Am I running so fast? I'm sorry. Am I boring you? No. Good to go this way? Okay. Because I know at any time I will have a green there, so I plan to rush. And it was a good invite that I received just a day ago, so I couldn't plan my presentation here. I do not have it here. If not, I would have gone in a proper pace. I'm trying to push it. I'm trying to give everything that I had in that. Okay.
And if you can watch it again.
Okay, great. It's about the frequency in which you have the audience responding. What do you think, friends, is the number of times that you can have the response of the audience? So I present my speech for 5 to 7 minutes. How many times do you think I can make the audience laugh?
Maybe 30 to 45 seconds.
Perfect. In seconds. I'll make it in seconds. See, one kind suggestion from my end would be, do not assume humor to be like this. Okay, I said base, I crack a joke, get the response. Said base, crack a joke, get a response. Said base, crack a joke. No. It's not like that. I would say joke is spread across the entire speech. The number of jokes that you can have in a speech is not actually measurable. You cannot calculate the number of times that you can have them laugh. It's good that you have a good frequency. Say, I assume I have a long incident. I have 3 long incidents in my speech. By the end of every incident, I'll definitely get the laughter from the audience. 1.5 minutes, the joke gets over, wonderful response. 1.5, wonderful response. 1.5, wonderful response, I complete the speech. There is another person who did not have such a classical humor in his speech. He did not have that. But he made the audience laugh 4 times. He wins. He wins. And you do not. Having made 3 classical jokes work on the floor, we do not get it. So that's why I said, for a humorous speech, nobody is really bothered about your message. Even in that, if you feel that you need 1.5 minutes to complete that joke, try to fit in some subtle humor in that explanation, subtle humor in that setting of the base, so that you have at least the smile in the audience lit till you make them burst out of laughter. So the frequency matters the most, and nowhere that you can have a very long joke. I've heard this speech of Tengachi Swaminathan. I think most of you know him. He was once talking about anger management. He says he was actually going to a place to deliver his speech on anger management. He was in the airport waiting to hand over his luggages to the person who was standing close to the aisle. And there was a long queue. There was a person standing in front of him, somewhere 2 persons ahead of him. That man goes to the person. He weighs the luggage and hands it over to the fellow who was to drop it in the aisle. Accidentally, the worker there drops the luggage and it falls down. The next moment, this traveler starts shouting, "Who do you think you are? Who do you think I am? How can you drop my luggages? This is unfair. What is this service?" And he shouts as much as he could. And this person who was standing there just smiles. He keeps yelling, he keeps smiling. And Swaminathan, who was in that queue, watched everything. That fellow went after some time. Now Swaminathan goes there and he talks to this fellow. "Sir, actually, I am going to conduct a session on anger management. I cannot find a better example than you. How could you control your anger? The fellow was shouting at the top of his voice, but I did not see you reacting. How could you do that?" And this fellow says, "Sir, there are different ways to show your anger. Like, that man expressed his anger by shouting at me. I have a different way to show my anger. That gentleman is going to America, his luggages are going to Japan." Like, see, this is one example for a long joke. I mean, though you think the laughter can be rep, though you think that you will receive the response of the audience, it's not actually a good advice to have this joke. The point is, I've consumed close to 1 minute and 15 seconds to get your response. Till then, you are looking at me very seriously. You should look at you from here. You are looking at me very seriously because you are trying to understand the context. And the judges are not going to check whether you set the base properly, whether you had the audience intact with you. No, that is not going to be checked. Maybe I had 3 such jokes, got the response so well. Okay, what I planned was got, still not going to make it. Right? Let's go with quick ones. Let's go with short incidents. Right? And in terms of how we prepare our delivery part, these all that I have given you now would be the guidelines in terms of the content that you have in your speech. Now in terms of delivery, there is a higher probability for anyone to commit a mistake in humorous speech that is sounding so mechanical. Would you be fun? You know this? In Karate Kid? Like Jackie Chan advises the kid with this phrase. He says, "Would you be fun?" which means too much of something is not good. When you practice too much for a humorous speech, you sound so mechanical. Particularly you being a repeated audience, you forget or you miss the real essence of the joke. You do not know where you have to give this pass, you do not know where you have to have your stress. You forget it the more you practice it. And one quick advice from some successful speakers is when you practice, follow this tip. They say we always lock ourselves in a room, stand against a wall and present our speech, right? We always bore the same wall, right? Like after a point of time, bore this wall. Bore the other side of the room. They say when you look at the wall from different sides, you assume that it's a different audience in front of you. Your brain perceives it as a new thing, and thereby you will be talking in a fresh manner. You'll be talking in such a way that you have to make this new audience understand your joke. That's where you act as an audience, when you stand in front of different pictures, different scenes in front of your face. Let's just make it that way. And if you are waiting for the best time to start with your attempt with a humorous speech, let that be your club level contest for the year 2016. I plan to say make it right away. Okay. My best wishes to everyone. Yes, we always have this complicated queries, complicated thoughts on how it would work. Let me tell you, for you to check what type of jokes will work for you, for you to know what timing you should maintain for a particular joke, for you to check what type of like body language you should attempt with your jokes, the only answer is attempt it once. You will know it. I mean, there is no guideline, there is no book which says, okay, this body language will suit you, this voice modulation will suit you. No, it's not like that. Particularly with jokes, you will have to find it by coming onto the stage. Like, you go there, take 10 jokes with you, 9 jokes flop. Like, it did not work with you. That one joke which worked is the teacher. Like, the body language that you maintain for that joke, the voice modulation that you maintain for that joke, is the type of joke that will always work with you. And to know that, come here, happily fail once. Like, there has been so many instances wherein I crack a joke and people do not laugh. It's that you do not show that you have lost there. It's not that you go crack a joke, nobody reacts, and you do this. No, that's not going to work. Like, you go there should be 2 versions, my dear friends, for the end of every joke. Normally, we have a pass between 2 sentences. If it is going to be a joke, you will have a long pass for them to react. See that you fall between the both. Like, you crack a joke, you do not get a response, turn the next day and keep moving. Don't show that you were waiting for the response and you did not get that. Act better than them. In some cases, the audience are rude. They will feel like laughing, but they will not. And you'll have to act better than them. You just walk away saying, I do not want you to laugh at that. That was not even a joke. And just keep moving. So 2 versions and let's make it right. My best wishes to everyone. Participate in the humorous speech contest. Thank you so much for inviting me. If there are questions for me to answer, I'll take it in the last 5 minutes that I have now.
I have a question.
Please, ma'am.
So when you prepare your speech, your script for the speech, do you have to confine yourself to one particular type of a topic, or can you go wherever you want?
Fantastic question. That answer actually is for 2 questions. Should I come under a topic? The other thing is, what is the difference between a stand-up comedy and a humorous speech? One thing, what I usually do, or maybe 2 or 3 of my friends usually do, is we do not go with the topic first, man. You don't choose a topic. When you go with the topic, you are restricted to that line of jokes. You are restricted to humor only in that line. It's always good to forget the topic. Go with those jokes which you think will work with you, those styles of humor that will work with you, compile them all and somehow entwine each of them and give them a common name. Naming the child at the last would actually help. That would help. And another thing, stand-up comedy is something like this. You present the first joke on a dietitian, the second joke on mathematics, the third joke on your college life, the fourth joke on the girlfriend, the fifth joke on something, and finally say thank you so much and leave. That's stand-up comedy. Like if you can somehow bring something common with all these messages and entwine them at the end so that everybody feels a flow, that's a humorous speech. There is no column in your judge's scorer sheet wherein it says if it sounds like a stand-up comedy, disqualify the speaker. There is nothing like that. It only reduces the probability of you winning. But then the judges can still be liberal, appreciating the response that you got from the audience. That's still possible.
Should there be a message for your
No ma'am. No message, no happy ending. Not at all. Like I finally say, so come on, let us take mathematics from our syllabus. Still, people do accept. I mean, in my case, the final thing that I stated was, like in mathematics, x is always lost, right? X is the unknown. I said, I don't like the letter X just because it is lost every time. So even to Toastmasters, let me tell you, don't call them XCOM members. That's why you can't find them at times. Like the point is, it's a negative message to Toastmasters. It's something totally negative to Toastmasters, but then it's still work. So message, not so important, man. But with ISC, message is important. Exaggeration is wrong there. But here, it's accepted. Even if I leave with a sad face, still accepted. Yes, sir.
Topic, the title.
Ah.
What is the importance of title in a class given only on?
It's actually so much. The importance of your title is so much. I have heard it from Gautam, I suppose, like one of the speakers, that the topic should make people curious. That's its job. The second thing is the topic can make people smile. If it satisfies both these in the checklist, that's okay, they say, sir. But otherwise, you don't need to explain a lot through your topic. Like I say, mathematics, my problem. No, that's not right. Maybe in one way or the other, it conveys like I'm going to talk about mathematics is okay, and a smile on the face the moment they get this title. That should be fine, sir.
Sometimes what happens is when you practice, or especially humorous teaching, in front of a mirror or in front of a wall, and with nobody there, you feel your voice, you don't like your voice. And you feel that you don't feel like, reacting or responding humorously to the way you are speaking.
Fantastic.
So as you are practicing that, and then suddenly you realize that I myself don't feel like
Laughing. How would
laughing
people?
or feeling humorous about it. How can an intelligent audience or intelligent we can
Okay.
take that? So
Okay.
while practicing, what are the things that we should forget it and we should also keep it?
This word forget is very important, sir. How many of you have felt this? See, you prepared for your humorous speech, or at least you have decided the theme for your humorous speech. You stopped there. You went ahead with your regular work. You came back 2 days later. You saw your content and you felt it looks dull now. It looks so good now. Have you felt this? Like you started your preparation, after some time your original thought sounds dull to you. Sir, the very simple reason is you are becoming a repeated audience to your jokes, sir. Like when you crafted it for the first time, you crafted it for a reason that was fresh. The second time that you see it, automatically, like any other joke that you see on the screen, the second time, the third time, the fourth time, the fifth time, you don't feel like reacting much. You don't find it as a fresh content. That's the one simple reason why you feel that it doesn't sound so good. But whatever you thought when you crafted that joke for the first time is true. That's true. It's a good joke.
But when you write it, you feel it is humorous. But when you rehearse it, it doesn't feel humorous.
Okay,
When you write it, it doesn't feel that. I mean, you feel it's a humorous thing. But when you speak it, it doesn't feel.
Fantastic point, sir. One thing, writing and practicing go hand in hand, sir. It's not that you imagine how it would be when you speak and write it. No, it's not like that. In fact, even before you sketch it, even before you pen it, you practice it with the right modulation, you practice it with the voice, and you feel, okay, this kind of word arrangement, this kind of sentence style would work with the audience, then you pen it. In fact, penning would be the last step in that process. And another thing, there are so many versions for every sentence. When Dhananjaya wanted to say, I see something in you, but I don't know what it is, I believe he would have at least had 20-25 versions of that statement. And finally, he would have decided at the last minute, I should say, I see something in you. He would have practiced this so many times and then had it in the paper. So look at it from all these perspectives on the stage and finally pen it down, sir. That would be the risk.
Probably record it and then pen it.
Yes.
Get to see how it feels.
How it feels. Yes. Have different audience. In fact, like 2-3 people who are always ready to be an audience to us. Check it with them and then bring it here. Sir. Friends will always help. Right? Fine, friends. The red light is on. Thank you so much for the patience and the reception. Really had a very good time here. Thank you so much, President, for inviting me. Even this time, I'm taking a lot of lessons to my home club. I invite you all to visit Virudhunagar Toastmasters. I know we are 11 hours away from this place. Whenever you happen to travel down south, please do visit us. Thank you so much. Leaving home tonight. Very glad on this last minute opportunity that I got. Thank you, friends. Best wishes for your team.